All right, everybody, we're going to get started here. John's going to bring up and start talking to us shortly. We've got, we're adding the space, we're adding the things and getting details going. So shortly, let me go ahead and share the screen where all of the things happen. And then we will be off and running. There we go. There's the space. And as soon as John starts talking, we're going to switch over to that audio. But, we're going to be, hey, if you haven't joined Andy Wergadal or Andy Unfiltered, make sure that you join and follow those accounts, because you're going to get lots of amazing information and lots of spicy information if you follow Andy Unfiltered. So we're looking forward to seeing all of that today. And just started those accounts a couple days ago. We're excited. It's going to be great. There's going to be some crazy news today. Looking at
everybody.
AI stuff.
Welcome to the
there's
AI
John. All right,
Hour.
I'm going to switch over to the show, and we're switching.
It is Thursday, April 24th, 2025. We have a special guest today, Russ Shares. And let's see, we don't have Andy up as the co-host yet. I thought I took care of that, but we always seem to have a couple of things going on that makes things, I guess, a little exciting or a little annoying. We'll try to figure out how that is as things go along. But I see Russ, you're here. Can you say hello?
Yeah, hello. Thanks for having me and inviting me to speak in your space. I really appreciate it.
Excellent. And let's see, I'm sending Andy the invite again, and hopefully this will work the second time. Is he on here? Not yet. So today there's been a lot of, there we go. Excellent. Perfect. There's been a lot of news in the AI world. Andy, what are you thinking? Shall we go straight to Russ? Shall we gab a little bit? Shall we kind of
did Russ bring your news? Did you do the news today?
Did I do the news? No, let's hear some news.
Come on, you got to get better than that. Okay. All right, John, let's go to the news and see what Russ has to say about it, and then we'll do a quick little introduction and get right to it.
All righty. Well, today in the news, AI. Now, I think we've got a troll. I brought somebody up in here, and I'm not 100% whether they're trollish or not, but we'll find out in a bit. But so I guess one of the big things that's going on today in terms of the news and AI is there is a lot of noise that I've noticed actually on LinkedIn. A lot of people are starting to realize that a lot of things that are being produced by AI are just garbage. Have you noticed that? I mean, that to me, that seems to be kind of we're getting to the point where things are being brought onto market and the promise isn't quite what they're saying is going to be achieved.
Well, I think the problem is that you've got AI is the underlying technology to do the decision making, and then the LLM is just the natural language processor that asks the little thingy to give an answer. And the natural language processor, the LLM, that's awesome. That's amazing. That's been able to give us access to all of this cool kind of Google answer stuff, getting it to process and produce some kind of systematic and reproducible kind of results. That's where the challenge is. And the problem is that people are conflating them together. They think it's one or the other, but and China's making it worse. Every day they come out with a new one. Oh, we've got a new model. And I don't know what to believe, from those. But yeah, as far as AI enabled, every single thing's got AI in it. It's like, the new, you have to have a website for your company. Well, yeah, so what?
Yeah, I mean, speaking of, Dropbox has now enhanced AI search. I mean, that could be, that's the thing. It's like, why don't I have a quality AI search for Google where or something where I can clean my freaking computer and get rid of everything that is erroneous, just start to optimize all this stuff. We don't have any decent solution for that at this time. And
so you need to clear your browser cache. Is that what you're saying?
No. As
No,
time goes
no,
on
that's
throughout my
uh,
computer, I get more and more garbage on it that I need to go through. It's a full, you're going to waste 2 days to go through every file to delete everything that's not usable to get the computer work a little better and become more optimized, that type of stuff. But whatever, I'm just kind of rambling. So Russ,
Yeah, John, I wanted to chime in and say I was at the vet a couple weeks ago, and the office staff were all making fun of AI. Like they were talking about how on their iPhones, the text summarizers that it does were just wildly unhelpful or unclear, or would tell a completely different story. And it was really just kind of, I guess, cathartic to hear them sort of rip on it, because they're at the very consumer end, right? Like they're not technical like me at all. So for me to make fun of it, it's like, well, it's kind of what we do as nerds. But to hear regular people make fun of it, I thought that was very interesting.
yeah, I mean, I think Leo is total garbage. I mean, it blew my mind when I was trying to work with Leo, and I was like, "Okay, so I have a Google sheet. Can you produce anything?" He said,
I'm sorry,
"I
AI
can't even
John.
read the Google sheet."
Breaking
You
up
don't. You have
here.
your Steve.
I'm gonna
Steve.
drop down. I'm gonna drop down to listener, and then maybe come back up if I have a question. But it was nice to all three. You all have a wonderful day.
Well, I'm glad we cleared
If
that
I
up.
if I have some questions, I don't know. I have
Yeah.
a lot of
Okay,
static in my
Steve.
ear.
Okay. Okay.
Well,
I'm
I'll
glad
stay
that
up here.
I'm glad that you shared what you did. Not really, but I think I'm going to drop you down. Um. So, Rob,
Hey, John, your mic's got your little. You're either rugging or talking through your nose, or there's a something, but it feels like your mic's dragging a little bit. But yeah, and by the way, Steve, raise your hand if you want to add something. We're happy to do that. But right now, it's we'll get to you in a minute, or if not, we'll just drop you down or kick you out.
I thought I dropped them, but here, let me try it again. Is it still rugging?
No, that sounds better. But anyway, let's keep going. Let's keep going to what's going on with anything else in the news. I didn't see anything crazy, but it's like every day. It's it kind of feels like it's an ocean. It just keeps hitting me every day. It's the same old stuff. It's like
Yeah, I mean,
when some new things.
well, the things that are kind of annoying is seeing people talk their book, like Bill Gates or whatever, saying, "Oh, everyone's gonna do this and do that, and you got to use my tools because it's the only savior." It's kind of garbage. OpenAI aims to make upcoming AI models best in class. I'm really tired of OpenAI. I don't know about you, but I just totally got rid of all my Chat GDP accounts. I was able to download everything and put it up into a better tool, but I just find Chat GDP has the worst and lamest output, especially when it comes to writing because it's so biased and polarized. It's just garbage. Any thoughts, Russ?
I absolutely echo your sentiment about it being cringe output. Just so much of my experience with it is me with my head in my hands, being like, "What are you doing?" Like that's just so milk toast, and it's almost to the point of useless, right? So yeah, it's really been fast. I mean, now I'm using the free models, but I was paying, and I started using Grok, and I was really blown away by the quality of Grok's output compared to ChatGPT. And so now I just use Grok, and what I get for free is enough. And yeah, so far I like that trend. I'm happy to keep not paying for AI while benefiting from AI. That seems like the sweet spot for me. Yeah.
Yeah, no, Grok is really good, and then also it's fun to compete. And Sonnet 3.3 .57 or whatever is really good for writing. I'm always impressed with that.
I downloaded some different models that I use on my local machine using LM Studio. So I don't necessarily use the other ones to produce content, or I mean, I do, but they're one model in one browser in one cache with the same thread over and over and over and over again. All I do is ask it to get new information, and that works. By the way, if you need a pro tip, that's a pro tip find a model that you like, and then don't get a new one or a new one or a new one. Just use the same one and then just say, okay, revise it to this now. Okay, revise it to this now. Okay, revise it to this. Oh, that was good or that was bad. And just kind of give the output your guidance and boundaries. That's going to eventually that will produce much better content, by the way.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I'm not sure. So there's another thing, Meta and Apple escalating tensions over AI integration in devices. I don't care about Meta. I mean, Facebook is really the worst. And Apple.
Yeah, but Apple's where Apple Intelligence is, first of all, Alexa's so far behind, then Siri's behind that, and then Apple Intelligence didn't make anything better except make everything more unsecure. I don't quite understand how these big giant companies and Bill Gates can pound sand. I'm sorry. I mean, I'd love to interview him. I wish you would come and talk to him. We'd get a lot of followers, but really, what's he going to say that's new or different or whatever? I mean, really?
Yeah, no, it's so funny to see these people that are the thought leaders and talk, and they act like they know what they're talking about. And really, when you get to the nitty gritty, the other day we were talking about this, like what company right now is going to create its brand vulnerability, potential lawsuits by bringing in these AI things that can't be trusted 100%. And it's just, yet they'll talk about how it's going to take over everything tomorrow night. But so we see the audience. There's quite a few people. There's Dev, there's Brad, there's Freeman, Rahu. We have Sonnen. Leg is new. I haven't seen him before. And then fifth column. I'm not sure what that account's all about, but we'll find out. And so, Andy, shall we start to ask questions of Russ? Are we at that point yet? Am I shooting?
Yep. Let's get Russ. First of all, Russ, we want to know, what are you using AI in business for? And then once we figure that out, what is your super secret sauce or special thing that you're bringing?
Yeah, no, I think those are good questions. But before we get to that, I wanted to encourage everybody to please quote post the space out. The X discovery for spaces is a little bit borked right now, and really the only way reach is really going to work is if people put it on their timeline so other people can see it. So if you want to help support me, you want to support John and Andy, that would be really helpful for all of us just to get more people in. Also joining us on stage as well also helps the algorithm kind of encourage visibility. So please feel free to grab a mic, even if you don't have anything to say. It does help.
So Ross, you're kind of a space whisperer, an X whisperer. Yeah, please. There's only 3 reposts of this space, and there's definitely more than 3 people here. Andy and I put our time and energy into this show. We do it on a regular basis. We're here Monday through Friday. We don't ask much of you. Hopefully you can grab the mic, but if you can't do that, at least repost the space and do it now, please. Thank you. So Russ, go on.
Yeah, so AI has a lot of potential. Obviously, I think we're all kind of on board with that. I use AI. A new term I've discovered is using AI reflexively, and I think that's a really good concept to run with, of reflexive AI usage. Obviously, AI is not going to be good for everything, but starting with AI and figuring out if it can work for something or where it can work, and then kind of filling in the gaps from there is really important. So I've been using Grok to, let's say, vibe code a project. That's a CRM for X. And, I've had a lot of success with it. I mean, some goof ups, if you will, but way better success than I ever had working with ChatGPT. Like with ChatGPT, vibe coding, it kind of worked sometimes, but very often it would hallucinate or add stuff or just be frustrating. And multiple times I have violated ChatGPT's terms of service with the amount of profanity in my responses. And I haven't had that problem with Grok. Grok is generally does what I tell it to do, doesn't add other stuff. Every once in a while it goofs or adds a character wrong, or, it happens. But man, like 95% of the time, I got to say Grok is does a good job. I mean, it's also a good representation of what AI can do. Like, I'm at a point where if I needed to use Grok more, I would pay for it because it's demonstrably worth it. But with ChatGPT and the kind of the way that they have their song and dance, I'm on the free plan, so I get kind of, I guess, a cheaper model or whatever. And it's just not demonstrating a lot of strength with AI. It's sort of milk toast. Yeah.
I purchased the year plan for X last year, the highest tier, and so there's a noticeable things I can do. I have two accounts. My other account's Doctor Spirituality, if anybody chooses to check it out. But there's a noticeable difference between this account AI John Allen and Doctor Spirituality in terms of how much I can push Grok. But I'm just curious, Russ. There was some articles, and actually Elon Musk talked about this. That the distinction between LLM models is the ones that are going to get exponentially stronger as time goes on, and they are going to outpace everything else. Now Elon's creating Colossus 2, which is going to add a huge amount of new CPU space, whatever. And its abilities. And I have a feeling that Grok is going to really start to outperform the other ones in a big way. Or I'm hoping, because Grok isn't full of noise, of bias, of pollution like ChatGPT. But if you do Google searches, because I'm into marketing and statistics, and you see Google Trends, ChatGPT is so far above the other LLMs in terms of search volume, and it's what people go to left and right, and it's the crappiest output out of them all.
Yeah, I mean, they're kind of what the Xerox of AI, right? Like they have their brand is the equivalent of the product or the technology for now. Obviously, more providers are coming online, and they're sort of challenging that. Same way with Xerox, as they faced it as well. I think it's a lot like operating systems or a lot of cell phones or things like that, where there's different technologies, different values, different priorities, skills, execution, opportunity, whatever, that all these models kind of reflect. And one gets good at one thing, but then another model maker sees that and says, "Oh, we should try that," and then they do it, and they do a better job because they innovate on what the other guys did, and so it's this back and forth kind of thing. But yeah, right now, I mean, ChatGPT is just disappointing, is the way I would phrase it. I had higher hopes for it. It's just has not really, like, Grok has blown my socks off as far as its quality.
So Russ, what do you use it for? What kind of problems are you trying to solve?
Yeah, so for ChatGPT, it'll be all sorts of things. I don't use it so much for coding anymore, but I do use it for writing, for analysis, for modeling of things, and it does. It's not. It's not useless, but it's just a lot of what it does is milquetoast. I mean, it's kind of my best explanation for what ChatGPT is like. Is it's just sort of boring kind of output that's not really that interesting. Sometimes it's like interesting. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Andy.
So are you using it to write content or using it to write documents? Because I use it to do things like generate reporting from a transcript, or take the transcript and summarize it into the top points, not necessarily meeting notes. Take a document and then revise that document into a slide where we could summarize it at an executive level. I think it works great.
No,
but
actually,
what are you doing with it?
Yeah, to that point, I was watching it. Someone sent me a YouTube video. It was a discussion between two guys about, I guess you could say, some geopolitical stuff. So after I watched it, I ran it through both Grok and ChatGPT, and I said, like, I ran the transcript of the YouTube video through those two, through Grok and ChatGPT. And I asked it, please call out the things that are true, half true, misinformed, whatever. And I will say, to ChatGPT's credit, it gave a much more clear and detailed and sort of unbiased perspective than what Grok did. And Grok, I mean, they both had overlap, and so that was also kind of a useful thing when I was, kind of sharing this with a friend of mine, to be like, look, both of these models are saying the same thing. You can call ChatGPT biased, But Grok, it's kind of harder to make that argument for. And so they're both in agreement on these points, and so that's worth focusing on, as a point. So yeah, I mean, it is really very helpful for that. I mean, for me, it's almost kind of like a daily thing. There'll be a question I'll have, or I'll have a concept, and I'm like, I really want to challenge this. It's like, why is this a good idea or not a good idea? Do I misunderstand this? Is there a part of this that I'm missing? That kind of thing. So I do it for a lot of exploratory stuff to kind of manage or merge my own thoughts and perspectives to kind of mesh more with, let's say, what an objective reality to things.
So
Yeah.
can we just give the audience here a background on you, just to really quickly? And basically, one of the reasons I think that you're here is to talk about Foxley CRM, and you have a good understanding about what's going on with X. So to give people context so they understand the qualifications you have to do the X, Y, and Z, or to comment about this, can you tell us your background in kind of a nutshell?
Yeah, so I've been a product engineer for over 15 years, predominantly web development, so building web applications. What I've been doing, I've been building the CRM for X. What I observed is, I've met a lot of people on X, a lot of coaches and mentors and ghostwriters and what have you. And a lot of them are struggling to succeed. It's not for lack of talent. My one buddy Dom, I don't know if you guys know Dominic, but he's ripped. I mean, that guy is built. He's a fitness coach, and you can see he's put in the work, and it shows. But he's still really struggling with clients and talking to people and getting those conversations to go and whatever. So I observed that that's a recurring problem, that people are trying to sell on X but struggling to do so, and it's just they don't know how to sell because it's its own skill, on top of the skill that they're bringing to market. It's its own thing entirely, and there's sort of a good way to do it and a bad way to do it. And my inbox is full of a lot of the bad way, just ice cold DMs, long pitches, nothing about me, all about them, all about what they do. Not even trying to identify if I'm someone that wants that thing or could use that thing or needs that thing or whatever. It's really, some of them are very pushy, very aggressive. So I see a lot of people trying, and but they're doing it. I don't know. They're getting other advice, or they're using other technology or whatever, and it's just foolish. So I saw an opportunity to sort of help people build more relationships and sort of engage in X in an authentic way, to not treat people like transactions, but to actually get to know them, see if you have an opportunity to help them, and just rely on the relationship and the proximity and the familiarity, to encourage people to have more conversations and close more deals, through that. And really just sort of celebrate the best of sales and the best of connecting on X, and also sort of enshrining some of the people that you and we all know of, Christelle and Justin and Kevin. They all kind of talk about this stuff. So the CRM, is really designed to help encourage people to make that obvious and easy to do, so they don't have to think about what they need to be doing so much. It's less guesswork, and it's more just like, oh, this is the next step. This is the next thing I need to do. So it help paint a clear picture on what they need to do next to move forward, to build more relationships, and how each relationship needs to evolve in order for them to have the kind of conversations that are helpful. And yeah, it's about strategic relationships, right? Not just building relationships with anybody. So yeah.
So I put Foxley up in the in the purple pill, a couple posts on it. Uh, where's it now? Because I signed up for the wait list. Where are you in the development stage? Are you ready to start doing beta testing? You shared something with me the other day in one of the spaces that we did. You kind of were able to break down who engaged and how, and what emojis they used. People are saying that emojis are some ancient language that we're going to get back to, that have a lot more meaning than we think. So just kind of curious, if you could explain all of that to the audience.
Yeah, so I just posted in the comments. For some reason, they're not loading for me on the page, but let's see if we go one more time. Okay, there it is. So I'll pin this to the to Jumbo so people can see it. So one of the features about Foxly is it makes understanding the spaces that you're in a lot more insightful. So that's both spaces that you're hosting and spaces that you're talking in. So for example, right now, so the screenshot I posted is the same one that I sent to John the other day. But for now, right now, in this space, for example, I can see I have 10, 100 symbols or 100 reactions. When I float over it, I can see, who's reacted and how many times they've reacted. And so what it does is it just tracks, as you're speaking, the reactions that get thrown up. So if someone's like really hitting the heart for what you're saying, or they're hitting the thumbs down or whatever. So both hosting spaces and participating in spaces, you get a much better pulse as far from the emoji standpoint. In addition to seeing how long people have been talking for, how long you've talked for, how long people's hands have been up, as well as a count of the audience over time. Like right now we're at 23. The max of the space has been 24 at a time. So you got it's all for building relationships. This is a great way to kind of do some, I guess you could say, prospecting or lead gen. If you're talking in space and you're seeing someone that's really liking what you're saying, hey, maybe that's someone that you want to build a relationship with. Maybe that's someone that you want to check out, maybe reach out to, or what have you. So yeah, that's what the Spaces Insight sort of allows for.
That's really, yeah. I mean, I don't know whoever else has this, but if you're on Spaces on kind of a regular basis, then all of a sudden you're on a phone call with someone and they say something you like. All of a sudden you reach down your phone to click an emoji, but you realize you're on a phone call. I don't know if anybody else has had that experience. Only once. Um, so yeah, so that's really interesting because I haven't heard anybody else articulate the connection between emojis and prospecting. But to have that information, because people are doing this subconsciously. If I'm sitting on a phone taking a phone call and all of a sudden thinking I have to hit emoji, I'm not doing that on any conscious level, but it's definitely registering something that's affecting me, and it's a marker that we can then use without and the person that's creating that marker wouldn't even be able to tell you that they've created that marker, but now we have a record.
No, that's absolutely right. Yeah, and that's been a feature that a lot of people, the Space Insights has been something that a lot of people have liked and thought was interesting. So very often I'll join a space, hang out and talk with people, or just listen. And then at the end, if there's sort of an interesting story, let's say there's been a lot of likes or a lot of thumbs up, or what have you, I'll share it in the space comments, or I'll DM it to the host just so that they can see, what their space, what the real vibe of their space has been as far as the activity, the engagement, what the engagement is. They can see, if there's been, 4 thumbs down or, 158 hearts or whatever. I was in a space a couple days ago, and they got 500 hearts in under an hour. And I thought that was just really crazy to really just demonstrate like the real vibe of the space is there's just a lot of love to go around, right? So yeah, that's sort of a, I don't know what I'd say, well, the tip of the iceberg in a way, right? As far as just like, hey, I'm here. How am I doing? How are people liking what I'm saying? Am I talking too long? Are other people talking too long? Have people had their hands up for a long time? That kind of thing. That's really kind of where it started. Only later did I kind of connect the dots on the tracking of the emoji reactions while people are speaking.
So have you partnered with anybody with this or whatever? I mean, my immediate instinct is like we should partner up so you can use our space as a kind of a test case, and we can kind of play around with it with people. I mean, the focus of this space is really people that do business on the people are involved in business, they're involved in AI, they're looking to generate money, they have a stake in the game, and they want to exceed, they have goals, they want to get somewhere. It's not just kind of to sit around and entertain each other. And so I think your tool, it would be a perfect use case for the space in terms of everyone kind of figuring out who they are, where they are. They can come, they can write their story all weekend and then come here and share their story and see if anybody gives a crap.
No, I think you're absolutely right. I do see a lot of opportunity for helping others, for helping space hosts, as well as. I mean, it really wasn't the design intent. It's sort of meant to be a mix of either you're hosting a space or you're participating in a space, and you have needs or values in both. But I absolutely agree. There's a lot of opportunity for each space where you can just help people track what the reactions are, and you can kind of use that as voting mechanisms or whatever, and kind of play off of that. So yeah, I do agree about that.
Andy, and now I see some people. Juan Carlos, Charles, you got the mic. I see that the startup circle is here. I'm wondering who's behind that account. I hope that you speak up, because I think what Russ is bringing to the table is really interesting, because it's something that affects all of us. If we're spending time on these spaces, we kind of want to understand.
It's Kevin. The startup circle account. It's pretty sure it's Kevin.
Perfect. Well, we need to get some activity of some people speaking or throwing some emojis up. Otherwise, it's going to be dead air, and that's not fun. Charles, how's it going? What do you want to bring?
Yes, I'm doing fine. Good evening, everyone. This is Charles from Nigeria. What am I doing with AI? Well, like I shared last week, we're already integrating the API in our ERP software.
Charles,
But very important.
Charles, we're talking to Ross. We're talking about his tool right now. I don't want to kind of divert the conversation away from where we're going. So, could you have you been listening? Is there anything you can add to what we're talking about?
Oh, frankly, none for now. I wasn't following it. Sorry, I wasn't following what you were saying.
Okay, well, we're going to try to keep
So I guess
the space on point, and I think that what Russ is talking about is very interesting, in the sense that people can now track emojis and kind of track about what people are doing at an subconscious and unconscious level, and you can create markers based on the conversation. And then also, I guess, if you are tracking the space through transcripts or something, and you can kind of see like it now. So Ross, have you, now that analytics is tracking spaces and you can see kind of the activity as time is going on, are you looking to incorporate Grok's API into your tool so you can get kind of maybe another level of analytics to this? Or what are you, or how are you bringing AI into Foxley CRM?
So that's a good question. I've been thinking a lot about opportunities for AI. Right now, the way the browser extension works is it's all completely local. So I'm not tying into any of X's APIs. It's all sort of manually inferred, if you will. I could see a V2, down the road where I do, deeper insights, and I am querying X's API. It is expensive. That's one of the reasons I don't do it right now. It's also just got some constraints and yada yada yada. But one of the things I have optimized for is there are a number of areas of Foxley that are customizable, as far as like the content that you want in there, or just the phrasing of things. And so that file is meant to be very portable, where it's easy to plop it into an LLM and be like, rewrite this, rip out all the XYZs, or rewrite them to be all the, give me all the Grant Cardone inspiration or whatever it is. So you can get the AI to, reformulate that for you and then feed it back into Foxley. And now you've customized the content to be as you want. So it's optimized in the sense for, going to and from your preferred LLM. Yeah.
I think there's a lot of value into Foxley. And just, I'm curious, what how how difficult was it to track this? Is it pretty simple? And then what came up? How'd you get that idea? I'm just curious. And then I see that Avi's here, and Juan Carlos would like to hear from some other people. Star, it's time that you grab the mic and speak up and ask some questions, because this is, to me, just an interesting, how you got from, uh, how did, why didn't anybody else think of this? This is, I think, really important in terms of getting, tracking metrics on what's going on in space for anybody, people that are holding spaces. The numbers that we've got lately aren't, huge, but people that are having 5,000 or 500 people or whatever, 1,000 people. I see the State Department is having a briefing right now. That's 5,000 people right there. They should have this tool. They should be freaking, understanding these metrics in a big way. Any thoughts, Andy or Russ?
Yeah, I mean, what I would say is, it's a certain level of serendipity. I certainly would have never set out to create a CRM like that. I'm not Salesforce, like I'm not going to be able to compete with those guys. But then I saw, I got to know a lot of people on X that are here, and they want to be here. They don't want to be on LinkedIn. They don't want to be on Instagram. They don't want to be on Facebook. They don't want to be on Reddit. They want to be here. This is where they want to be. This is where their customers are. And recognizing that they need help, genuinely. The skill is there, the eagerness is there, but the knowledge and context isn't there. So at a certain level, they need sales training, but they also need an improved user experience, more opportunities to understand, different people, kind of where they're at, and sort of what their history of experience has been with them, their interactions and what have you. So, I posted another image of Foxley showing the Kevin's profile. You can see that there's a timeline of interactions for the last, I think it's the last month. So I've visited his profile 8 times. I've replied to 2 of his posts. I've liked 12 of his posts. I've joined him in 4 spaces, sent him 5 DMs, and I've retweeted him once, and I can also see that, he's in my funnel checklist. He's at step 2. And, I've followed his account and I'm engaging with his content. And, the checklist makes it really easy for every profile that you go to understand, what do I need to do next to move this particular lead along? Am I qualifying them? Am I developing them? Am I, pitching to them? Am I closing them? Are they a customer? And it really makes it just about step by step, just what is the next thing I need to do to move these people along? And one of the things, and that is entirely customizable, by the way. So if you have your own sales funnel or your own steps that you want to do as far as qualifying or moving people along, it's just another JSON file, that you can kind of export, customize, then import again, and you can add more steps, remove steps, whatever it is for you. Yeah.
I think it's a great tool. How are you planning on monetizing it?
So it's going to be, what would you call it? So monthly subscription. At the base level, it'll be just like, hey, DIY, and at the other end of the level, it'll be, let's say, what's the word? Concierge. High support, high reach out, high context kind of thing. I'm sure there are a lot of people on X that want to sell, but the tool can't solve all of my customers' problems, right? So part of it will be, some training and some motivation and some accountability and some management, maybe some, lead generation for them or prospecting. Some people will need more help than others, right? And there'll also be a, private community as well, for people in, let's say, the pro and up tier, to help, collaborate, meet with other people who are kind of in the same boat, kind of trying to do the same thing, and collaborate on, cold outreach, building relationships, moving through fear. There's a lot of fear in sales because you're up against rejection, and that's scary. And then how do you approach people in a respectful way that is not sleazy, slimy, sort of dirtbag kind of way, or pushy, how do you approach them as people, as a peer, not as a salesperson? So I think there's a lot of challenges that people are up against when they're trying to sell on X, and they need, different people need different levels of support. Some people, they just need a little bit of help and they're good to go, and other people, they want to be more engaged in it. They want to be a student of sales. They want to be very eagerly learning and challenging and growing themselves. And so, yeah, trying to target not just, that's kind of why it's named Foxley, because on top of being a CRM, I really want to help people just with social selling. and with the good positive side of sales, not the used car salesman sort of experience some of us has had. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think you're bringing up a lot of really good points, and especially I think that a lot of the old salesy stuff doesn't really work. Everybody's kind of oversaturated with a lot of garbage. Juan Carlos, I see you got your hand up.
Yeah, I don't know how good this noise isolation works, so if y'all can hear my son crying, just give me a shout. But I do want to just kind of speak from my perspective of Foxley. Russ was kind enough to give me a bit of a demo, and it's fantastic. I got to be really honest with you. I'm a very tough person to make a sale to. I've always been that way. I'm just extremely frugal with my money, and I would rather buy Bitcoin than everything else. And so seeing his software, I've paid for two different softwares from creators on X so far, and he's probably going to be the third whenever that's available. So I just wanted to share that perspective, that testimonial. Me personally, I'm always in the DMs. It's constantly. I would say like 60%, if not 70% of my time on X is actually spent in DMs, and then kind of like waiting for responses and whatnot. It's a tool that I would 1000% use. The how do you say this? The intuitive element of how he actually designed it is really good. Like when I was looking through the demo, I'm like, okay, cool, this fits into my workflow, and I think that's one of the most important things that I look to whenever I acquire any kind of software, whether it be just a subscription or even something more long term or whatever. It's how does this fit into my business model without having to actually change my workflows? And this is a tool that complements the business model and complements the workflow. And it's very well put together. So just wanted to share my piece on that.
Absolutely. And Ross, it sounds like you have a background in sales, communications, or something. I mean, you speak about it in a clear, concise manner, and not everybody who's a builder, who's a dev, who's an engineer, has that skill or quality. Just curious how that came about.
It's funny you talk about that. So I was building an enterprise chat application, and kind of along with that, it's like, well, how do you sell to enterprise? So I did this was, I think, 2 years ago. So I did some deep dives on B2B sales, and did like LinkedIn courses, watched tons of YouTube videos and whatever. And I really kind of fell in love with it. I fell in love with the human side of sales, and I was so blown away that there's this like salespeople are change agents. They are the ones that are distributing technology and change into organizations. And it's a win-win kind of outcome, right? It's the salesperson has won, but also the company and the people involved have won. Everybody has moved up because of it. It's pro-social. It's a good thing. And I guess for me, meeting people on X and talking with them and needing to give them good advice. I was really very cautious about telling people lies or bullshit or fake stuff. So whenever I would listen to them. I've listened to a lot of people, and then I would kind of do a little bit of research and kind of discovery. I would argue with AI. Man, AI gives some really milquetoast sales advice, I will tell you. So I would very often be like, well, what about this and what about that? And it's like, oh, you're right. Yeah, you shouldn't do that. That is a bad idea. I'm like, right, that's what I'm saying. So, a lot of it actually came from trying to help people, wanting to give them really good advice and solid advice that would connect with really what they're trying to do and give them insights into what the mindset of sales is and how to think of it as consultative and supportive, not as pushy, and really pushing back on, I guess one of my other inspirations was all the cold DMs I get. I mean, man, they are just so bad and so ineffective. And I mean, they're trying. Like, I'll give them credit. I had one guy, he was every day messaging me about signing up for his Bitcoin trading scam or whatever, where like I would deposit my money into his exchange and then he would manage my funds for me. And surprise, I make more money. And it's like, dude, that is so obviously bullshit. But man, every day he was messaging me about it. He was hyper aggressive, and it's just so funny because like maybe if it wasn't such a terrible obvious scam of an idea, I would maybe be into it. But yeah, at the end of the day, like I recognize that there are a lot of people who are trying to monetize on X, and there's nothing wrong with that, especially if you can help people. But there's also a lot of, I don't know, bad advice or bad technology or something out there where people are doing things that don't work, and like that's stupid. So that's kind of where I saw an opportunity. It's like there's, people like Kevin and Christelle and Justin, they're good people and they sell in a very ethical kind of friendly kind of way. And it's like there's no tool or course or what have you that really orients people in this way of social selling. And so that's kind of where I saw the opportunity to really create some guardrails and some UX improvements. And I just wanted to say to John Carlos, I really appreciate what you said, man. It's a little funny that when I reached out to John Carlos, he was just like, I don't know, I give really critical advice, and I was just like, John Carlos, that is what I would love, is please be super critical. And to my disappointment, he didn't have that much criticism. He had a lot of fawning appreciation. And I was like, God damn it, that's what everybody keeps telling me. They keep telling me that's an amazing tool, but I want to know. I need to hear the bad stuff, right? So I really appreciate what you said, John Carlos, and I really encourage everybody to reach out to John Carlos if you are an entrepreneur and you want some clarity on how you can move forward with your business. He has a tool that he's putting together to help you with business planning or product strategy or marketing, kind of a 7-day thing that you go through. But he's also got some other stuff. I mean, he's talking to me in DMs. He's got some really cool stuff in his pipeline too. So he's a cool guy.
Absolutely. Everybody needs to follow Juan Carlos. And if you need any clarity in your business, DM him and ask him, and he will provide that for you for sure. And there another thing is, so I'm in this thing called the Innovators Think Tank Incubator Program, and I'm creating an app, and we're going through the assumption phase and what have you, and I'm realizing how difficult it is to drill down on first principles and exactly getting to the point of solving problems. And then all of a sudden, what Juan Carlos has said, and the simplicity, like, I got it. I saw one image of your app and I got it. How did you get that clarity on that? Because I think that is the true art, or the true value of anybody creating anything. Because people have all these ideas, and then there's a splatter of garbage, and to get to that core element is truly the secret sauce. And it seems like you've done that. I couldn't imagine that just all came out of a dream or something. How hard did you have to work to get to that point?
So that's a great question and a great call out. Anybody can make a to-do list, but it takes real skill and patience and engineering to make a to-do list that helps people get stuff done. And to that point, that's also why I identify as a product engineer, because part of product is being mindful of what jobs people are really trying to achieve, right? People generally aren't out there to buy a drill. They're out there to buy a hole in the wall, and the drill is just sort of in the way of it, right? I mean, if for certain holes in the wall, all you need is a screwdriver. You just go bam, and then there you go. You've got a hole. Obviously, most people don't do that and can't do that, but at the end of the day, that's what they're out there for. So orienting the features and the behavior to be very mindful of what the audience is trying to do, where they're coming from, what they're thinking, what their mental energy is. And one of the other things that I've learned from being a software engineer for 15 years, there's a lot of things that are implied, both between teams, between employees and management. Just things where it's just like, oh, we need a user, for example, a user table. And so that kind of implies a first name, a last name, maybe an email address, that kind of thing. But there's also opportunity for miscommunication and misunderstanding there. And there's a lot of sort of leaving it up to fate, if you will, when you do that. And so likewise with sales training or any kind of training, really kind of anything, a calculator, you could even say, has a lot of, let's say, implicit versus explicit stuff. So if you wanted to, let's say, calculate the radius of pi or whatever, what have you, you'd have to know how to get the calculator to do that. But you can, it's a tool that will do that, right? That's in sort of implicit sort of approach. But you could also, for more advanced calculators, they just have a button for it. right? So now that's explicit. You just have to hit that button, and now you've got this formula. You don't have to type it out. You don't have to remember it. You just know that you have to hit that button, kind of thing. So taking things from the implicit sphere and moving them into the explicit sphere. So people have to think less, making it so that the thing that they need to do next is obvious and it is the right thing for them. It's not, they don't have to think about it. I've removed decision fatigue, right? Really kind of lining it up for them as far as like, and here you go, just whack the ball out of the park. Just keep whacking those balls, right? Instead of all the other manual work about like, well, where do I hit and where do I orient myself, right? There's a lot of things like that when you look in the world, like even in weight training, right? With weight training machines versus free weights and things like that. Sort of the ability to put focus on people, put focus on their efforts so they can get better results,
I mean, I remove decision fatigue. So did you create a system like, or over the 15 years, were you like taking notes and say someday I'm going to build my own thing, or you're building things all along those 15 years and then you're whittling down what is an efficient use of your time to create a superior output and what isn't? I mean, how do you get from the concept at first is like, hey, I'm going to help some people try to figure out what's going on with their spaces or their time on spaces, and then get it over to the platform that Juan Carlos and myself just saw a little bit of. Um, how is this a system that you've created? Was it dumb luck? How does that happen? Are you there, Russ?
Yeah, 1 sec, please.
It's always challenging to take concept and turn it into reality in the software world. It's especially difficult to take what somebody thinks they need and turn it into something that actually works the way they expect it, because those are two things that are typically really far apart. What you think you need, what you actually need, what the software can actually do are sometimes very, very different. As I try desperately to stretch the time between now and when Russ can answer the question.
So Andy, in your experience with big projects, how is that brought about from, well, this is what people are going to want to, or this is what we think we need to achieve? Is it through multiple questionnaires or
No, but so here's what typically happens. You have some product, let's say your timekeeping system. And they have to be collated. They've got to be put into a big system, then calculated out so that you can identify the right amount of payroll and the right amount of information. Uh-oh, what happened?
Sorry, I'm back. I got a call.
No. Yeah, go ahead. No problem.
Yeah,
So
it's very inconvenient timing. So one of the pictures I shared in the Jumbotron, it's called "What Do I Say?" That allows you, when let's say you've identified someone's profile, you're like, hey, I want to reach out to them, I want to build a relationship with them. But literally, what do I say? It's like, how do I build a relationship with them? So what do I say? The feature of what do I say, is available in your DMs. And you just click it and you get some templates as well as some training. So, you can, and this is also completely customizable. So there's a section for cold outreach, thinking of you, highlighting some content, sharing some insights, giving them some congratulations or whatever. And then, for each of those sections, there's some contextual training as far as like what the spirit of this is, as well as, something like 10 examples. And you can just copy that in and then, paste it into your message, maybe edit it a little bit. And then there you go, really streamlining what people are trying to do is build and maintain relationships. And there are a number of people where I've just sent them a thinking of you message, right? People I've already have a relationship with. And I'm just like, man, what do I say to this person? So it's even been helpful for me, just being like, hey, thinking of you. Remember we chatted about blah 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 or whatever, and haven't seen you around, and hope all is well with you. And those have rekindled communications and relationships with people. Some of them are potential customers, but other are just people that I know that I like and whatever. So yeah, it's kind of an example of that, making the implicit explicit kind of thing.
I think we all need a little help with that in terms of quickly knowing the stream of the conversation with someone, just because it seems that social media kind of, you're bombarded with so much stuff. To have a clear understanding of ongoing conversations is, unless you're keeping notes or something like that. Yeah, I mean, you can go through the DM and look, but after about a scroll or two, you kind of, to find the original reason why you guys, or two people, got to talk to each other. This is super, super important stuff for closing deals, to know all of these nuances, and the tool seems like it can really help with that. Juan, Carlos, I see you got your hand up.
Yeah, I got to go here shortly for a client call, but I just wanted to reiterate, tagging on what you just said there. It's a really important the 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 function that Foxley provides is important for anybody that's actually trying to take their business serious on X. So having a tool that natively connects to the platform and makes all of that easy for you, just want to reiterate that's super amazing. And if anything, here's what I'll leave with for anybody that is creating apps, whether it be vibe coding, whether it be having some experience or maybe a hybrid version of that. Just try to focus on making it as easy as possible for the consumer to actually use it, and think of that from their lens. And I wish I had time to give an example, but just always put yourself in their shoes, walk a mile in their shoes, literally if you can, and just go from there. But yeah, congratulations, Russ! Super awesome app, and I'm excited for the release. And thanks again, Andy and AI John, for hosting the space.
Yep. You too, John Carlos. So always welcome, always appreciate your inputs. Hey guys, I'm going to have to go too because I've got another call. But happy to have had you, Russ. Appreciate it. By the way, I think the whole thing is cool. So you need a beta tester, you need some other stuff. You please let me know, because selfishly, I totally want to see it, and play with it. So
Yeah, no, feel free to sign up for the wait list.
Yeah, definitely will do that. Anyway, thanks again, and turn it back over to you, John, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.
Excellent. And I kind of switched up the space now, Russ. I don't know if you got time to hang out for another half hour or so, but maybe,
Yeah, sure.
maybe for the next half hour, we could kind of go into selling on X through DMs, and basically, the various techniques that people can use using their tool or otherwise, in terms of closing sales on X. How much time did you spend before you built the tool in studying this? And what is your process I still really didn't get the answer in terms of your process or system for the end creation of the tool.
Well, I mean, the best thing I could say about the process would be iteration. That's kind of, I'm a big fan of iteration, I guess is what I would say. And certainly there's been a lot of, let me try this and see, and kind of get a feel for the experience, and then kind of be like, okay, that's good, but that's still not good enough. That still doesn't solve this, this real pain that I'm trying to solve for, kind of thing. It's good, it helps with this thing, but it doesn't help with this thing, kind of thing. So it's a little bit like walking. You're going from point A, you're trying to get to the store or something like that, right? And you have to go down the street, make a left, go right, whatever kind of thing. You have to navigate it a little bit. So in the same vein, I had to kind of go for a walk. I had to, start walking and take a path and be like, hey, this seems to be getting me closer to the store I'm trying to get to. And then, I'll make a right here, and okay, this is even closer, kind of thing. So yeah, just a sort of a step-by-step process, I would say.
Very good. Yeah, it's I'm just kind of uh curious in that sense, in the thing that I'm working on something like this for the first time. I don't have a history or a background of designing these things, so just kind of curious. I see that there's some people in the space. Russ, is there anybody here that you've spoken to that you would like to hear more from? I see Jane is there, and I haven't heard from Jane very much. Star Killer, if you want to grab the mic, kind of, I'd like to hear what you're doing. And I see there is one request from the mic. I get okay. Let's see if we can get that going. But hmm. Okay. So okay. I'm not sure what happened. I thought up for a minute that the space got rugged. So Ross, what you were saying that you are did you do sales through DMs, or what's your experience with X been?
Woof. X has been a wild ride for me. I started posting, obviously, I think as most of us do. Got a little bit of engagement, but really not that much. And then I discovered Spaces and was really blown away by that. Have made a lot of friendships and relationships through. I mean, I guess I would say almost all of my friendships and relationships on X are through Spaces or because of Spaces. So that's really been such a key leverage for me is having conversations with people. And I have before I was doing building Foxley, I was doing coaching for investment. And one of the things that I discovered was I would just be talking about investing in Spaces and talking about money management and putting your money to work. And people would be DMing me, being like, "Hey, I'm interested. I want to talk about this." And I was just like, "Well, that's interesting." So it kind of goes to show that like being out there, being top of mind, getting visibility, and talking to people's problems can work. Like when people are in pain, when their hair is on fire, they want that bucket of water to put it out. So yeah.
Yeah, I really like what is it, the All In podcast, and one of them was saying that the reason that they still do it is because when they go to meetings, somebody's like, "Oh, I think I know you from the podcast," and it greases it makes the communications and the end result a lot easier with a lot less friction. And so I think Space is really on X is the quickest way for that, in terms of there's so much information that's being brought through the voice. And if you're on Spaces on a regular basis, you really can't hide who you are. It's pretty apparent. And so that does bring a certain level of trust, maybe I don't know if accountability so much, but then you start to build relationships off of X, and then that brings things to another level. um do you have any great stories to tell in terms of relationships that you've built on X, and things that have happened? And in terms of time, so like Twitter, I kind of totally avoided when Elon took over X. It took me about, I don't know, 6 months for me to get on board, and then about another couple months for me to kind of really go, wow, I whatever Elon's doing, I kind of want to be a part of it. What was your journey in terms of that? And is there any other social media that you've been like? LinkedIn is pretty spammy when it comes to the messaging. It is nice to see people on LinkedIn that I've built relationships with here on X. And Facebook is for people that I knew in high school and I really don't have much in common with anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I've been online since I don't know, I was 7 or 8 or something like that. And kind of been around the block, been on, I wouldn't say every social site, but on a lot of them. And X, especially because of Spaces, is really the most social platform I've been on. I mean, the relationships I've formed through X, there's been no other platform where I had anything close to that. I mean, most other platforms I wouldn't get to know anybody, maybe one or two people on Reddit or something like that. But for the most part, it was very, very isolating kind of experience. And with Spaces, there's no algorithm between your mouth and other people's ears. So you can say whatever you want. You can talk about elephants if you want, and people now have elephants in their head, right? Whereas with the algorithm, you're kind of at the whims of that ocean's breeze, and sometimes I mean, even if they're following you, you could write a post and they just never see it, and like that's kind of a sucky way to build relationships. But the thing you do have control over, you obviously don't have control over the algorithm or who sees your stuff or likes it or retweets it, but joining people in Spaces and reaching out to them in messages, those are two things you have control over, and it is some of the best ways to socialize anyway. So yeah.
And what have you learned about the X space algorithm with your tool? Because it sounded like earlier that you kind of have figured a couple things out about it. Like, yeah, I would love to hear anything that you've gotten to figure out since you built the tool.
Well, I've figured out a lot of boring stuff. Stuff as far as like, how do you really know when someone's speaking or not? Like, I have to count the pixels and the little icon to really know whether someone's talking or not. Things like that. A lot of weird implementation things as well. For example, if you throw up a reaction and then you throw up another reaction, for whatever reason, now that original reaction appears 4 times in the page instead of just once or twice. Don't know why they do it like that. Don't know what the reason is. It doesn't genuinely make any sense, but it was resulting in multiple emojis being detected every time someone would react and then react again, kind of thing. It's just weird stuff like that. And I've also done some poking around in the backend API and stuff like that. So a lot of their communication is still with Periscope. I don't know if you remember Periscope that Twitter had. But a lot of the API communication is still reaching those domains, reaching that code base. So it kind of points to some legacy behavior and architecture that spaces are built on top of. That they kind of repurposed Periscope to kind of be the backbone for spaces. That they didn't move any of the domains over, and it's obviously legacy code. And yeah, it kind of speaks a little bit to some of the frustrations and surprises people have with buggy audio or getting dropped or whatever. It's kind of coming from that. So that's been interesting. Yeah.
So it's kind of a Frankenstein framework. That's because
Yeah.
I was really hoping that they kind of put in a mixing board or some better thing where you can do audio fun, where you can kind of create like the old theater, hey, Jack, open up, the house is on fire, stuff like that would be kind of fun. I love the old radio shows. Okay, I think I killed the room with that one. But so, and is there anything that you found out in terms of the algorithm for spaces that seem to create better spaces? Like I do notice that there are people who kind of continually bring in 100 people to 500 people in their spaces. What is the difference? Is it just that and some of these people I've never heard of, I don't know who they are, but is it just because of the title of their space? Is it because they have a huge following? Some of them don't seem to have a huge following. Is it because they're on spaces like 24/7, 365? Did you drill down into that at all?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have participated in spaces a lot. I've observed a couple of things. Obviously there's sending out invites to spaces. That can be an effective way to kind of grow a space up. There's also been a number of spaces I've joined where, I mean, basically they're just bot accounts, is what I would say. Like there's people in attendance, but they're not really there. They're not really people. They never talk. You know what I mean? Um, and and then there are other spaces I've been or spaces I've hosted where people have joined, and they would openly talk about that they were searching for stuff and that they came across my space because of search because I had some keyword in there that they keyed off of, and I thought that was really interesting as well. But there's no universal like one thing, it's really kind of a conglomerate as far as your network, people their awareness, their availability. There's a time of day element. Certainly nighttime has a different vibe than daytime, different audience. So it's kind of all over the place. But there are things that I've sat in spaces where I've talked with people who, were early beta testers of X spaces, or they're one of them was a developer for X, but not for spaces. So they talk about it's something they talk about. They talk about encouraging people to get on stage because that boosts it up in the algorithm, the recommendation algorithm, encourages people to quote post it out because again, that's just algorithmic benefit and things like that. So there's been a lot of stuff I've learned along the way through just listening on spaces or just talking to people on spaces. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm going to play around with Radar a little bit more and see if I can kind of get some Radar. It's weird. It's supposedly powerful, but I mean, you can only do one query at a time, and you can't kind of test various keywords against each other or what have you, which would probably be, if you're trying to find sweet spots, would be a little bit more useful. Hey Ray, how are you doing? I see you grabbed the mic.
Hey, really interesting stuff here. And I came across some posts that Russ commented on this space. Apparently, there's something he's building called Foxley CRM. Looks great. I'll definitely. I just started listening, so I need to go back and get caught up. Wanted to come up on here and comment on one really interesting behavior I've noticed with spaces. So I've been hosting Flutter spaces on Wednesdays for the past year. And one thing I noticed that was really, really interesting is if you mention someone, if you mention someone's name, or you mention like some company's name or topic, apparently there's some transcription going on or some real-time algorithmic processing going on where they will get a notification, like whoever you mention will get a notification that your space is happening. And in practice what this looks like is that you're talking about, say, a company, or you're talking about some person, and then they just after a few minutes they join the space.
So I know that in the algorithm, it does flag like negative or positive. So I would imagine then you don't want to be the negative nilly space talking about big brands, probably the positive, talking positively about big brands. Do you think that that will help this at all?
I'm not sure about any of whether it's positive or negative, but here's what I do know. There is some type of live transcription going on and algorithmic processing where even inside of the app you can see that whenever you have a space, you can see that X and some of the speakers is talking about some topic. So I don't know how X does it, but it does seem like they listen to our space. So even if you're in your own space, you have X listening to you. And then they do send out a notification to people that they think would be interested in your space. Uh, and what I've noticed is that they might be running a few different campaigns there. So uh, I did have those experiences where I mentioned someone and they join. But then other times, I also like mention people and they don't join. So it might be that one, they're not joining, or maybe two, X does change their spaces algorithms and test things over time. But that is also perhaps a bit just speculation because the Spaces app has not gotten too many updates. I think it's still running on very old infrastructure, and it desperately needs an update. You have so many issues. So that's as far as I know. I don't know if they do any sentiment analysis. I haven't seen any evidence either way, though.
Just curious, were these people that you mentioned, were they people that you have regular interactions with? Were they big
Oh,
accounts?
yes, that's correct. So they are people that have interacted with me before.
You call them within the inner circle, or and as why I'm curious, there's that one tool that shows kind of you and then the people within various circles. Is are any of the algorithms, does it work in that way? In other words, and when I first went on X, I really paid attention to that because it kind of helped my ego out based on some of the people that were kind of close to me in that tool's outlook, which may or may not have anything to do with the X algorithm. Are you are you familiar with, and this is to you, Russ, as well, how the X algorithm works in terms of informing others about what you're doing and how it shows up in the feed? Is it I mean, I constantly am going to the explore and the notifications, because I do care about accounts that I care about. And then periodically I'll get just like a string of garbage, stuff that I have no interest in whatsoever. And I've got to mute all their accounts because it's like people fighting in public or something. And it's just, it kind of drives me nuts. There doesn't seem to be a long-term consistency in what shows up in the feed sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, what I would echo is the algorithm is increasingly showing stuff that, what would I say? What it My understanding of it is, it's not, it shows people stuff that they have already seen, kind of stuff. So if I see a bunch of posts on copywriting, for example, all of a sudden the algorithm will now be trying to show me more copywriting posts, right? So it's not necessarily anything. It's partly, I guess what I'm saying, it's partly related to your audience, is kind of what I'm trying to articulate. So if you have an audience of people that are into copywriting and you write about copywriting, that's a good connection. But if you're writing about, I don't know, your cats or something like that, and they're a business oriented audience, uh, that won't get as much visibility. Yeah.
That makes sense. So Ray,
I will say that there are, I don't know if you guys know this, but in the triple dots of the spaces at the very top, where you can go to the microphone settings or whatever, there's a show captions option. So you can actually see the captioning of spaces. It takes a little bit to load up, but that is, partly what they're doing is they're, digesting the audio and converting it into text. Whether they use that for recommendation or not, kind of TBD. What Ray talked about was sort of the first time I've heard of that. Not to dismiss it. I mean, I feel like I've seen some sort of space recommendation somewhere, sometime for me as well, but kind of reaching on that one. It's also not really that good. Like, you'll say something and then it'll appear in text probably like 5 minutes later, so it can be a bit of a laggard. Certainly not real time or anything like that, but yeah.
yeah,
I don't have too many insights about the Twitter algorithm. Uh, there is one thing I know for sure, though, and that's based on your audience and what you usually post about. If you talk about other topics, post about other topics that aren't within, what your audience is, the algorithm is not smart enough to move you out of your circles and into the right circles. So there does seem to be a necessary consciousness of what your audience and what type of circle you're in, and an understanding of which posts will go far in that type of circle. But the moment you try to talk about other things, like for me, I have some, health and politics interests as well, and anything, and philosophy, etc. But any type of post in those areas, it's not smart enough to put me into those circles from my usual tech and Flutter circles.
yeah. I mean, sorry, go on, Russ.
I was going to just chime in. Is the algorithm? It's kind of funny how you have to train the algorithm on what you want to see, but then the algorithm also shows you posts that it thinks you want to see, kind of thing. So what I've observed, for example, within Foxly, I have a feature called Radar, and that basically lets you see a visualization of everybody at every stage of your sales funnel, and you can see the last time if you've recently visited them, if you've recently liked their posts or retweeted them or replied to them, been in spaces with them, DM'd them, whatever. I find that when I go to each individual person's profile and I engage with them, that's sort of a direct way to manipulate the algorithm, because I've had people that I've reached out to or commented on or liked or whatever. All of a sudden, they're seeing my posts, and that's not something I was necessarily anticipating. And I thought that was kind of very surprising, to be honest. So I think there is an element of training that you kind of do with the algorithm when you engage or look at posts. And you can use it to your advantage because you can also use it to inject or gain visibility in other people's feeds as well.
But it's kind of weird. It's like, when you're working with AI and you have a long thread or whatever, and it seems to forget what the first or the core of the conversation. So I created this pause prompt where you got to go back and create a hierarchy of inputs. But like, for whatever reason, one day I spend more time looking at one post that's not really within my sphere of interest, but for whatever reason it got me kind of interested, and then you see a flood of it, as though it totally forgets like what your standard thing is. And I think that's the big problem with AI, of course, is memory and consistent memory. And so it does seem to, you would think it'd be a little bit more sophisticated. We're going to Mars, like, can't we make a better algorithm on X and then also, to Ray's point, is like, we're not one dimensional. And hopefully you have a lot of varied interests. I mean, that's classical music, as well as art, as well as AI, as well as business. And to be so or to force everyone to kind of into this myopic tranche, I think, is unfortunate. But it is what it is. Any thoughts, Ray or Russ?
Yeah, I would say, since this is a space where we're talking about Foxly, Foxly lets you take control of the content that you engage in and the profiles that you connect with. So you can bring a lot of intention to it. So instead of, like, maybe the way we used to use X would be we would follow people and then we would see their posts in our following and we would like that, and then that was kind of good enough. That's increasingly been It hasn't worked. Like, the algorithm, even if I'm following people, I don't see their posts sometimes. I'm just like, I literally did not see this, even though I've been on X, kind of thing. I've had that conversation multiple times with people. But when you're really intentional about the profiles that you reach out to, I have something like 80 profiles that I'm tracking right now, and being intentional in viewing and potentially replying to or liking or retweeting. And I do that all authentically. I don't just visit everybody's profile and like everything they do or retweet everything. Like, I'm bringing authentic engagement to the table. I have more control now. I'm not at the whims of the algorithm. I'm able to be like, I want to have a relationship with this person. I want them to see me. I want them to be recognizing and seeing that I'm engaging with their stuff regularly, instead of hoping that the algorithm will spit out one of the posts that they made among all the flood of other content that is coming into my feed as well. So that's one of the other benefits of Foxly, is the intention that you're able to bring to relationships that you're trying to build, versus hoping the algorithm will deliver you the content to kind of build that through that.
Well, I think it's noticeable that you're using Foxly, because I've spoken to a couple people about you before today's show, and a couple people have mentioned that, like, you're there. And now that you're bringing that up, I assume that a lot of your positioning right now on Spaces has to do with the feedback that you're getting from Foxley. So it's obviously working. Can you tell us a little bit about, like, how you use the tool, where in terms of starting to build I guess, a brand, or to position yourself before you release the product, so others, because I mean, there is Alex Finn's Creator Buddy, which is specifically for X, and it doesn't do anything of what you're doing, which separates you, which is great. But yeah, if you could kind of go into detail how Foxley is making you show up in a way that is noticeable to people like myself and others.
Well, it's interesting. I guess maybe it kind of goes back to making the implicit explicit, right? Instead of thinking like, oh, I'm going to visit, Andy and AI John and Andrea and Ray's profile, a couple times a week, kind of stuff. I just go to the radar and I get a color coded list of people I visited recently and who I haven't visited recently. So I just go through the list. I just go down, just be like, oh, let me check out John. Let me see what he's up to, right? And it's just about being visible, engaging with their content, seeing it, potentially retweeting it, potentially replying to it, kind of thing, as just sort of a step one for creating some awareness and familiarity. And it's interesting that a lot of the people that are in my qualify right now, a majority of them will probably leave to be disqualified, right? A lot of them are people who are like, I see that they're potentially a customer, but really the other thing is like I'm intentional about the customers that I build relationships with. So some people, they just don't post stuff that's interesting to me, or it's toxic, or they stopped posting entirely, kind of thing. So there are many ways for people to leave the sales funnel. But the benefit of that is that the people that I do whittle down to are people that I want to engage with, that I genuinely want to build a relationship with, whether or not I can help them with their challenges or whether they become Foxley users. That's TBD, but it's not the requirement. It's really like they just do good stuff, and there are a lot of people like that on X, where it's just beneficial to have a relationship with them. And yeah, great if there's an opportunity to help them or have a conversation, do a demo or what have you. That's awesome, but that's not the main goal. I'm not trying to be transactional. I'm really trying to get to know people and learn from them. And you never know. I mean, they might talk about you. You might help them out with something that they're trying to do. There's been so much benefit from a personal level of getting to know people that I appreciate the business networking elements of it as well. Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of the thing with social media, or we have AI now that's supposedly going to save us a whole bunch of time, but of course, if you're doing things, then you have more things to do, you have more ideas, and you want to see them through. But the separating noise to signal, or to make sure that you're using, nobody wants to use their time inefficiently who's got anything going on. They want to feel like, hey, today was was moving the needle in the right direction. I did the right thing with my time. I made wise decisions. And it sounds like Foxley can be very helpful for that on X, because yeah, I mean, social media can be kind of a bottomless pit if you're not very directed and focused. And with Juan Carlos, Mr. Clarity, it I think that, yeah, that's hugely helpful for a lot of people to find clarity through a tool. So the whole dopamine fix of of X or whatever social media you find yourself on is being sidetracked to endeavors that are potentially beneficial for you, besides just taking up time and who knows what.
Yeah, so I just shared in the jumbo another screenshot of my stats for this week. So one of the features of is I track all the interactions that you do with X. So anytime you reply to someone, you send them a DM, you write a post, you visit a profile, you join a space, you retweet, whatever. And for each of those, you can set a goal to be like, hey, I want to be doing 75 of these this week, or 50 of these in a week, kind of thing, or if number of calls that you want to book. And then you get a dashboard basically showing kind of what your progress is for the week. So there's gamification as far as orienting you, as far as just like, yo, I need to be sending more DMs, or I need to be doing more video posts, or whatever. Bringing that intention again, kind of making the implicit explicit, but also kind of creating a fun, challenge and visualization of like what you've really been doing on X. And if maybe you've been, for example, in the screenshot, I've liked 428 posts, which is good, but I don't really have a goal for that. Really, my goals are posting more, DMing more, and replying more. So that kind of reorients my vision to be like, okay, I should be prioritizing, replying more and sending more DMs and posting more, and not so much likes or visits or joining spaces. This is sort of what the stats are showing now. Because those aren't goals of mine. Again, it's all kind of configurable as far as how often you want to be doing something, even if you have a goal or not for it, kind of thing. Yeah, just again bringing focus on like, what do I do next? Making it really kind of obvious or easy to visualize what that needs to be.
Yeah, I really like the in funnel. And then I guess it is, are people able to customize this? But I guess you were saying that depending on the customer, that you'll have multiple tiers. But yeah, I can see, just forcing people to visualize in funnels, like, okay, well, what funnel is this, and what is the outcome, and where, and create kind of the journey that you want people to go on. You can start to do that much easier now that you have identified, you quantify, and you are able to measure and set benchmarks and goals. Is a really helpful tool with something like this, in the sense that it's a visual. I'm a very visual person, but to have this in visualized in this way, I think will start to get people better results.
Yeah, and to that point, I just shared in the Jumbo a screenshot of the sales funnel, and you can sort of visualize how many people are at what level, and when you click into it, it expands, and you can kind of click through to different people's profiles if you want to browse the sales funnel that way. But you can visualize. I've got a lot of people that I'm qualifying right now, don't have any customers, don't have any people that I'm closing, kind of thing. That kind of gives you a sense of where things are at, and in addition to that, the Foxly will make suggestions to you based on what the funnel activity is. So there'll be prompts that'll appear that'll be like, hey, you're not sending enough DMs. You've only sent 2 this week. You should send more DMs. Or you have a lot of people in Qualify, but you don't have anybody that you're connecting with, or you don't have any people that you're closing with. So it encourages you to take certain actions to move people along, or if maybe there's some stagnation in your sales funnel where people have just been hanging out at a certain tier for a long time, to kind of encourage you to be like, hey, you should be thinking about moving people along, get them from prospecting to being potential customers, and what have you, and sort of really, again, lining people up for success, and sort of highlighting for them the actions and thinking that they need to be taking.
Yeah, I mean, this is so important and really good. And like the whole idea that people are going to find any decent end result with revenue, ad share, or whatever, is kind of ludicrous. And you really have to build a business. You have to start somewhere with, create an email list, create a newsletter. By the way, everybody needs to go to my account and sign up for my newsletter. I transcribe all of the spaces, and within the newsletter, I take all the really good actionable information and I put it within the newsletter. I'm doing it on a weekly basis, and probably going to start to do it more on a daily basis as we move forward. So please go there. Also follow myself and Russ and everybody else who's speaking. And, this is really a networking space more than anything. So it's important, if you are got anything going on, that you grab the mic and let everybody know what you're doing, and why we should pay attention to it and contribute to the conversation. Please don't derail it and just kind of talk about something random, because that's not what this is about right now. But yeah, I think that that this is going to this tool will force people to realize what they're doing here on X and why they're doing it. And you really, write a book, create some product that you can start to market and monetize, and put it within this structure, this funnel, and move along. And or just be a consumer, and um I mean, what is it? I did some research. It's like 95% of the world are consumers. Very small percentage of people are creators. So and now's the time to create, in terms of also bringing things to the table like this, which isn't. I mean, this is a sophisticated platform, in the sense that it's simple and I get it right away. And again, I'm going to ask you one more time. How do you is that something you studied? Did when you were in college? Did you?
So actually, that's a great question. So before I even became a software engineer, I read this book on web usability by Steve Krug, and everything you need to know about the book is in the book title. And the book title is "Don't Make Me Think," and it goes through how sites are designed in such a way that there's just a flow. that there's an understandability, there's no confusion. I mean, obviously we've used sites that are confusing and disorienting us, but we've also used sites that just seem like they were custom designed, like a perfectly fitting glove. And so, trying to remove things like decision fatigue, really just trying to remove thought, where it's just like removing, like, okay, what is this? What's going on here? How do I do this? How do I do that? At least minimizing it. Sometimes there will be stuff that you just have to kind of learn a little bit and then you kind of get it. But just being aware that, when you have software that's confusing or has a lot of options or poor color contrast or what have you, it induces thinking, and thinking slows down flow. And flow is really something that's very valuable for people who are trying to get stuff done. I'm sure, especially in corporate world, there's tons of software out there that's just so frustrating to use because it's just haphazardly put together. There's just one page for dozens and dozens of inputs and things like that. It's not organized or categorized or whatever, and you just don't even know how to succeed with it. You need custom training because the tool itself was poorly designed. And that was also a bit of a design goal for me, is I don't want there to have to be a user manual. I want to minimize the amount of training and context that people need to have in order to use the tool. I want it to be very discoverable, but also obvious as much as possible. I mean, there are some nuances here and there that I'll have to clarify for people. But, at the end of the day, I don't want there to need to be a user manual. It shouldn't be that complex. It should be built for people who are regular human beings who just like, hey, I'm here, I'm a fitness coach, I'm a ghostwriter, what have you. I'm just trying to sell an X, and I just need a tool that helps me do that. And I don't want to have to put a lot of thinking or training into it. That's sort of the spirit of it.
I love that, and I put in the purple pill, Steve Krug's website. Don't make me think. I have not seen this book. I really want to grab it. Yeah, because I really love the subconscious mind, and pretty much every decision is made on a subconscious level online. You're doing things. You're flipping, turning things off before you're even aware of doing it. You're kind of in a bit of a state of hypnosis, I think, once you get online. That's why hours can go by and they do that scrolling behavior or whatever, and it takes effort actually when you're online to be conscious of what you're doing.
And one thing I wanted to highlight is that part of what Foxly does is it has built-in training. So it has over 200 videos, over 50 quizzes, and over, I think, 75 just tips and things like that. So as you're using X normally, every once in a while you'll get training injected. And that's an opportunity for you to level up, closing or prospecting or mindset or what have you, or do some quizzes as far as just like, hey, what would be the best way to reach out or respond? What would be the best response to have to a customer that's expressing hesitation, right? And you get some multi-choice things, and you can kind of be like, oh, it's this thing, but actually it ends up being this thing kind of thing. So part of just downloading and using the tool is that you will get sales training, and it's really good sales training. I mean, it's some of the best sales training out there. And normally sales training is very expensive. It's a very dedicated product. You just get it built in. You get that learning opportunity where every day you use the tool, you get a little bit better. You get more training, more context. You start connecting more of the dots with things, all in line with encouraging people to use X in a pro-social way, to approach sales in a pro-social way, and be very intentional about it, and sort of recognize the specific and unique effort that it takes, and respect that and appreciate that. Yeah. Instead of leaving it to them to go do sales training themselves in sort of an implicit way, I've made it explicit in the tool where you can just start using X, and as you browse your feed, you'll get training on how to be better at sales. Yeah.
I mean, that's 200 videos. That kind of blows my mind. How much time have you put into this product? I mean, were there videos that you created yourself? I mean, that's crazy. That's that's really substantial.
Well,
And
what I'll say is AI has helped me a lot. This project would have taken me like 8 months, 12 months, something like that to build, because of just the both design complexity as well as the integration stuff. But having AI and being able to leverage that for both big problems and small problems, I've really been able to move much quicker and do a lot more. Just iteration really is the thing that I want to go back to as being one of my key differentiators of success. Is I've just iterated a lot. I've tried a lot of things out and then refined it and tightened it up and made it a little bit cleaner, or yanked it out entirely because it was the wrong thing. And maybe now it seems like it's divine intelligence or whatever, but it's just I hit that hammer thousands of times, to shape this into its custom molded, context. That's definitely my credit. Is just putting in the work. Yeah.
And also, I mean, it's so smart. People create things, especially I think this vibe coding trend, where it's just like, oh, look, I did this, but there's the follow through. Like, if you make a tool where people are doing better and they're selling more, this tool is going to last. It's because to me the big fallacy is, oh, I sold this tool and now I've got this money in the bank for the next period of time. I think people are going to fall off subscription based AI models like left, right, and center unless there's a real reason why somebody is going to have it. And if it's an actual tool that makes their business or themselves, grow and keep putting money in their pocket, I think that these days there's got to be something involved within any kind of app or tool that keeps the people engaged with it and shows that there's metrics that their engagement is producing results. Otherwise, I think people are going to fly through subscription models left, right, and center. Uh, it sounds like that's something that you put some thought into by creating 200 videos on how to be a better salesperson.
So I will say I did not create 200 videos. These are 200 of the best and shortest sales videos that you can find on YouTube. So I just sort of curated a lot of really good stuff. And yeah, I mean, it's interesting the level of confidence I have in the quality of the training. It's just really good because it represents a lot of the best practices I've known, pulls in some of the thought leaders that I've really looked up to, and really there's a lot of misinformation out there in sales. Like there's a lot of bad advice. I mean, a lot. I would say almost predominantly the advice out there about sales is not good advice. So really, that's where I feel there's a lot of strength in this. Is that it's advice that will materially make people better at sales. And like that's the CRM is nice. Building something that people will pay for is awesome. But really, the thing I'm trying to solve is I'm trying to help people get more sales. Like end of the day, that's what it needs to do. People need to see results with this. And when you use the tool every day, you use it for the training, you use it for the tracking, you use it to engage with people, you use it to build relationships, to have more conversations, to get on calls with people. You'll be surprised at the kind of success you have. That's sort of where my position is. I've already been surprised with the success I've had using the tool I built. It's just kind of like, wow, wasn't expecting this kind of thing. So I think you need to kind of speak a little bit about what you were asking earlier. I think you also have to be the right person for it, and I have such a passion for sales. I'm probably one of the most passionate software engineers out there about sales. I don't know that I've talked to or connected with any other engineer that thinks about sales and cares about sales as much as I do, with as much passion and care as I do. And I think you need to have that kind of crazy sort of attitude, right? I think some of us know Zaid. He's building Canva notes, and for him, he's the guy because he cares a lot about writing. That's really been his focus and his care. And the tool really kind of in the same way, kind of codifies or encourages you to write in a good way. And but you talk to him, and he will talk at length for why that matters and how important that is, and sort of educate you. And so I think maybe the takeaway that I would say is, like, if you're at a point where you can be educating people on something, it's also a great place to be where you can start be building solutions for people as well.
Absolutely. And you do, it pays to be a little obsessive and to really kind of, you know, drill down on these things. So, hats
Yeah.
off to you. Go on.
No, I was just going to say, yeah. And, my goal is to build the best CRM for X. And I think I'm already there because I think I'm the only CRM for X. But even if I'm not, nobody is going to catch up with me because I am just going to make this so valuable and so helpful to people that are trying to sell online. That's just the obvious winner, and any competition that tries to compete just won't be able to. That's the goal.
So when are you planning? When do you believe this will be ready? Are you going to do a beta testing first? I signed up. I put my email in. What is the process moving forward? How do people follow you and to make sure that they are able to get the product or try the product or because I'm real excited about using this. I mean, of course, the space, the AI Biz Hour with Andy and John, we want to get as many people here as possible. We have, visions of many things moving forward, and it's a bit of a slog, but I have confidence that I just enjoy doing this. We seem to bring in interesting people, so I want to know how I can, bring our community into a better, higher visibility. So, what do we do?
Yeah, what I would say is bringing a product to market is a tricky thing. Marketing doesn't really work. I mean, it does, but it doesn't. You don't want to be marketing first thing. You really want sales. You really want to be doing at least sales gestures where you're doing outreach, you're getting people on calls, you're converting them to be users, or even more ideally, paying customers, kind of stuff. It takes a lot of just manual effort, and it takes a lot of numbers as well. I mean, with a lot of startups, they have to do something like 500 outreach, 500 cold outreach messages, and they get something like 2 customers out of that. Because at each stage you lose people along the way, of people that are interested, they don't reply, they don't get back to you for scheduling calls, or they get on a call and they don't care, they don't need it, whatever. So that's a real challenge, and part of it is finding opportunities to talk about it. I'm also learning how to share this in a way that is productive to people. Like, for example, when I came on this space, I obviously had plans for talking about Foxley, but I was also planning on how can I share insights and context for how I've built Foxley, and sort of my perspective and experiences along the way, so that people just aren't sitting in a space that's an ad for an hour and a half or something like that, right? Like, nobody wants that. People want, it's like, okay, great, you build a CRM, yada, 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 who cares? What's the actual cool insight that I could be taking away? Because I don't need a CRM. I'm a builder. I need to know how to use LLMs better, or whatever it is. So really, it's about it does take time. I am getting to a point now where it's going to be in beta. I had to put up the website, had to put up the waitlist, collection, for example. So did that checkbox kind of thing. It's a little bit every day kind of thing. Really, in the same way of sales and focus and having conversations, I'm really trying to have more conversations with people, and really make sure that there is, let's say, a market for it, and that is a market that will pay for it, because there's a long history in product. One of my favorite stories is who was it? I think it was IBM. They were just doing discovery, and this is back in the 1970s or so. They were doing discovery on speech to text, and they realized that they could build this thing. It was going to cost them several millions of dollars. And so, like, okay, like, this is amazing technology. We can speak and it appears on the screen. But there was an engineer in the room that was just like, hey, yeah, but we really don't know if the market wants this or not. So, like, let's run an experiment. So what they did is they got people to come in, executives and secretaries, and people from their existing customer base for their other services, to come into their offices, come into this room, and sit in front of this computer screen with a microphone. And they said, look, you can say anything you want. Everything you say will appear on that screen. And just have at it, try it out, spend as much time as you want. When you're done, come out, talk to us, and we'll go from there. And so they would try it out. They would say all sorts of crazy things, and they would appear on the screen and say, wow, this is amazing. So they would, after they were done, they would come out and they'd be like, okay, great. What'd you think? Thought it was amazing. Great. Can we get an order for you? It's like, ooh, yeah, I don't know about that. And you're like, but what do you mean? You just said that you thought it was great. And they're like, yeah, it's great, but I can't use this in my work because my secretary will hear all the private customer stuff I'm talking about. Or if I'm using this all day, I'm going to be talking all day. My voice is going to be broken at the end. I need to be on calls and people need to be able to understand me. I can't just be talking all day. So they found that even though it was cool technology, it wasn't actually something that their customers wanted. They had objections to why they would be using this technology over the manual keyboards that they had. And so that's very interesting feedback. But the thing that's even more interesting is that IBM didn't even build the thing in the first place. What they did was is they hired someone for like $15 an hour to sit in another room with headphones, listening to the microphone, typing on the keyboard everything that they heard in the headphones, kind of thing. And so they were able to fake this solution before they actually built the solution. And so one of the things about bringing a product to market is recognizing that it costs money, it costs time, and you want to be minimizing the amount of money and time that you are exerting on an idea before you reach validation. But the flip side of it, and this is something that I've discovered, is that sometimes you need to build before you know what you can sell. So for Foxley, I had to really tinker and build into the X platform before I knew what kind of anchorings were there, what kind of opportunity was there, or if it was even possible. So there is an encouragement to sell before you build. It's great advice. Definitely encourage everybody to do it. If you can't do it, then you want to at least be minimizing the time and energy and capital expenditure so that you can get to market quicker, you can have conversations quicker. Even if you're just showing them screenshots or design mock-ups or whatever, it's good enough. But if you can't get there, then you want to build the MVP. You want to build the minimal project. You want to avoid building the full featured version out the gate. So you really just don't know if the customers are there. Even if it seems obvious to you, you really need signal from the market, because most products fail the market. 80% of products fail the market. You look at Google, you look at Amazon, you look at Apple. They have whole product graveyards. You can Google Microsoft Graveyard, Google Graveyard, and there are dozens of products in there representing millions and millions of dollars and thousands of man hours and things that ultimately failed. Things like the Zune, as an example for Microsoft. I'm sure a lot of us are familiar with that. Some would argue it was a better audio platform than the iPod, but the iPod won and the Zune lost. Same way with Windows Phone. Windows Phone isn't a thing anymore. It used to be trying. There's like 7 different versions that they tried. They just couldn't bring it to market. As much money as Microsoft has, they just weren't able to do it. So failure is a law of the market. And you have to be optimizing what you're building for failure and recognizing, like, hey, this might not work. Or this version might not work and I might have to pivot again, So as much optimization for going to market, having conversations as possible is encouraged, and avoiding huge expenditures. Like, push the expenditures off into the future as much as possible. That's certainly some advice I wanted to leave with people.
That's great advice. And also, yeah, you've got to. So currently I'm doing assumption mapping and such like that for an app that I'm creating. And yeah, you've got to, if you do if you do the work beforehand and you actually go out and interview people, create tests, define what it is, which is their true problem, understand what solutions are available, what's works, what don't work, and then you build the app or the product or the tool based on that information. You're really going to provide, I, somebody was explaining certain things to me, and it seems like part of the job of people that are out there building for hoping for investors or whatever, is that in a way they're kind of the agents for investors. They're the ones that are going out, that are going to create tests and test assumptions and do the legwork to find out if there's validity in the idea. But to go and to build something without doing all that work is just a huge there's going to be time, you're just guessing. Do you have any thoughts on that? And then we're getting close. We got a couple more minutes and then we'll close up.
No, I think that's absolutely right. Bringing a product to market is hard. It's not obvious what will succeed and what won't. I mean, who knew that inviting strangers to sleep at your house would result in Airbnb, a multi-billion-dollar company. So there are a lot of examples out there. Twitter, right? Just 140 characters. who cares? Like, why would that be a thing? Well, look at where we are today. Obviously it's more than 140 characters right now, but it really goes to show that there's a lack of obviousness sometimes, and it takes a lot of work and iteration to get there. And I before this, I mean, there was one project I was working on that was I think 7 or 8 years I spent building on that, and that was a video game that I was building, and it can be a real drain. I mean, like for me, it was an itch, and I certainly learned a lot. I'm a better developer because of it, but and maybe I can bring it to product to market someday. But at the end of the day, like I would have liked to have gotten more feedback quicker on that, instead of 6+ years. So for this tool, this has been maybe I'd say something like 3 months of effort or something like that, 3 or 4. There's been some iteration and thinking and design that kind of went along the way. But it would have taken me much longer without AI. And I've also kind of optimized it for, it's just like, there are a number of features that I'm just going to be like, yeah, V2, it doesn't do it right now. Let's kick it off to V2. I have, I think, enough of a minimal lovable product. It does enough that it can help people in material ways where like they can become fans of it. And the thing that I'm really looking for right now at the stage I'm in is my favorite example of product market fit is that meme from Futurama, where Fry is holding a fistful of cash and he's just saying, "Shut up and take my money." And that's what product market fit looks like. When people are saying, "Shut up, stop selling it to me. You've already sold it to me. Just take my money." That's a great signal. If you can get that from people, you got something.
Well, I think you're getting over the target. We're going to close up. If you want anybody who's listening, Russ, if you want to tell them how to reach out to you if they're interested in getting on the wait list, and then what they can expect if they put in their email, and also love to talk to you about DM afterwards. If you could, use our space to improve the tool in any way, that would be amazing. And I'm really excited. I can't wait to see it in action and to use it. So I really hats off to you for making something that has actionable real world effects in ways that have a meaning.
Yeah, I mean, so what I would say is, if you're on X and you're here to build a business and build relationships and do social selling, this is the tool for you. It's custom built to be the best CRM for X. You will not find a better tool. You will not find better training. But, beyond that, that's sort of the CRM pitch. I'm here to help people at the end of the day. It's beyond just being a CRM. Like, if you got a question, you got some challenges or something like that, you want to chat, I'm a big nerd. You can always hit me up in DMs. I'm here for authentic relationships and getting to know people. I'm not a sleazy, slimy salesman kind of thing. People buy from people that they know, like, and trust, and that's really the kind of behavior and vibe that I encourage everybody to have. You don't have to do this alone. I don't, I'm a bit of a loner in life. I've made a lot of great friends and connections on X, and I really encourage people to capitalize on that opportunity, because you just never know. I mean, I got to know Justin. I know many of us know Justin French. And then I've heard from other people that he would be talking about me in spaces, sort of celebrating me and recommending me to other people. And I never asked him to do that. He's just a nice guy, and so I really encourage people, to reach out to other people, build relationships, be intentional. Don't be afraid to send a DM and be like, "Hey, I really like what you said," or "Hey, this looks cool," or whatever it is. Most people, like, the trick to sending people messages is to send the messages that they want to receive, right? So send them something, a compliment, an appreciation, a meaningful question, and don't be don't have a trench coat where you open up and be like, "Hey, you want to buy one of my Rolex watches?" People don't like that. Nobody wants to build a relationship with an ad. They want to build a relationship with a real person that understands them and is supportive of what they're trying to do. And if you do that, you'd be surprised about the relationships that you can build. And so many people that I've talked to that have succeeded on X, they cite their relationships as their source of success. I mean, John Carlos was in here earlier. A story that he was telling me was one of the projects that he's pursuing right now, he got because he was talking in a Bitcoin space. And just because he ran into a guy that runs a factory or something like that, now he's having a meeting about providing his services to this guy's entire company. And so it really goes to show that relationships are so important in building and getting the sort of success on X. And you can leave it to the algorithm and marketing and create a revenue or whatever. It'll always become less and less. That's in X's best interest to do so. When you take control of your future and you bring something to market that helps people, be it copywriting, be it coaching, be it mentoring, be it training, being a product or what have you, you can create a lot of success for yourself by just putting in the work. And I would encourage everybody to do that.
Absolutely, yeah, and I believe that you're absolutely correct. Relationships build actual wealth as opposed to one-off sales. You never know where they will lead, and they can lead to monumental things in terms of the lifetime of your career. So that's absolutely correct. Well, thank you, Russ. Really, really appreciate it. If there's anybody that wants to say last word, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, all right. But that it was a really great space. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to coming on here. Would really, when you get it ready to go, maybe if you want to uh, uh, come back and maybe we can make an event of it. That would be wonderful. And it's really good talking to you. I'm going to see you again and again here on Spaces on X. I highly recommend that everybody go into the Purple Pill and that they number one, follow Russ. Go check out foxleycrm.com and sign up to be on the wait list. Follow myself, follow Andy, follow all the speakers, get to know everybody else. Please go to my account and sign up to my newsletter so you can get the breakdowns of our shows on a consistent basis and follow and join actually the AI and Biz Hour community. That's through my account. And if you want to help me out at all for the time that I spend doing this, and I think I'm doing a service for the community, you can buy me a cup of coffee or buy me lunch. You go there, go to my account. You'll see support through Zelle. And there's a link there. You go there, you buy me a cup of coffee or lunch, whatever you want to do. That'd be greatly appreciated. Thank you, everyone, and we will see you tomorrow. And then on tomorrow's Friday. All right. Thanks again. Have a wonderful evening, and we will talk to you all later.